Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and this will be a very short information video because there has been quite a lot of talk about a security issue with the Linux system. So the question I want to ask you, have you ever heard about it, and do you know like whether these Linux systems are compromised, how the security is fixed? Is your system already compromised? Do you use still those vulnerable versions? So if you have not heard about this, what we are going to talk about in this video is like called XZ Utils Backdoor, which is a critical SSH vulnerability in Linux. This was actually found maybe 2 weeks before, like March 29th. And before we get into what this vulnerability is about, let's talk about what is this XC utils, right? So in this tutorial, we are going to talk about the CVE 2024-3094, which is talk about this backdoor, access to the Linux system using this XC utils. So this XC utils, formerly named as LZMA Utils, is a set of open source command line tools and libraries for lossless data compression, and mostly a tool named being as XZ, and this comes and installed by default in most of the modern Linux distribution. So it's by default comes with all the Linux distributions, and what happens is on March 29th, Andres Freund, Microsoft software engineer, alerted the open source community about this SSH backdoor, and this is found in versions of 5.60 and 5.61. So now the point here it is why this ever happened, because Linux is a very common software, right? And we are using a lot of open source components in a lot of softwares using open source component, even in enterprise companies and different places, right? Whether you build your different applications somewhere, you will be using some kind of open source application for your dependencies or anything. Now the challenge is here is like when we use this open source application, it's always risk having some kind of security vulnerability, right? And that's why we have these communities and people managing it, maintainer of different repos, and there should be a trust on how to use the open source, right? If you don't have the trust on the open source component, you will not be using it. So in order to touch on this vulnerability for XZ Utils, you should know about the process or how someone has broken this trust or using their trust what we given to maintain a open source repository. They try to inject some backdoor access vulnerable file, and they wanted to cause this security issue. So this is done by the guy called Jia Tan, and he have this had this GitHub account. I'm sure it would have been disabled or closed by this time by GitHub because of injecting this. And he tried to be contributing to different open source repo and try to get the trust, and he got the access or maintainer access for this XE util, because the XE util was a repository which was there for quite some long time and everybody using, and I think it was the owner was let's say Colin, and he was not having time to maintain the repository, so he added Giatan as the maintainer because he felt like the guy was having contributing the repo and trying to help. So, but unfortunately, that trust is broken because he tried to inject something on the back door. And if you see this blog post from pentest.tools.com, because I want to give credit for how they're written. It's very nice, and it has complete timeline on how this is injected, and how the commit by Giatan and when he did, and how the PRA open, and how this works. Everything is in detail. You can have a look here on this pentest-tools.com. I will give it in the link into the video description. But overall, the topic is like since we give trust to a maintainer, and someone misuse of that, how we can control it do you think like we can control that, because we trust that guy and he has we didn't find any issues on the way how he was behaving for all these years using the GitHubs and contributing to different repository. It's tough. So I don't know how we stop all these kind of security issues. But the only thing I would say is like when you have a proper review process or PR reviews where somebody look into those reviews and merge it, maybe we catch there, because multiple eyes rather than having single ownership. So different people review it before we get merged. If one try to push, I think other can catch those things. What do you think? What is your opinion on this kind of vulnerabilities? But this was in the range of like vulnerability in the range 10 rating, and because it's simply pushed into all Linux system and it can give you the full access. So how do you know, like if you are still using it, just check, there's some command, like if you are still uh, want to see whether your system is having it affected by backdoor, just try to use this one and see which version of XZ Utils you are using. And if you're not vulnerable, no issues. If you are vulnerable, then I think you should fix it. So what's the lesson learned? To the dev, really require a lot of coincidence, not increase running. So projects include dependency from original developer don't add, so which makes even more challenging to handle inspect. And the supply chain attacks, this is very severe, because of these dependencies you are injecting into some other supply chain, because you use this dependency, you build one software and you send it to someone, and because of that you are injecting this attack into their infrastructure. So you have to be very careful on this. So this I just want to share this one. Please have a read, and I'm sure these kind of securities are very risky, and be careful when you're a security guy or you're a DevOps guy when you're using some kind of third-party libraries or anything. Be very careful. We have a look onto that. I would say probably you keep a lock on the versions, and whenever there is a change in the version, have a look on that before we get use those into those repositories or binaries or dependencies into your softwares. So thank you for watching, and I would request you, if you are new to my channel or if you have not subscribed to my channel, click on the subscribe button, like the video, share my videos with others, and have a great day.